Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the All in Agile podcast. My name is Bernie.
And I'm David. Hello.
And welcome. As you see, we are today on a couch with our podcast today. And this is actually a very good setting, I think, for the podcast. Let us know in the comments if you like it or not. We have received some informal and formal comments and already have worked quite a bit to make your comments come true. Now, today we will talk about a topic that is very contentious sometimes, especially in teams, and that is a review. Whether it's called a sprint review or just a product review itself, the concept is always the same, and it's clear and cut and dry, and usually teams either love it or hate it. Now, David, let's start off. What about reviews? What is a review? Let's start off.
Last time we talked about retrospectives and reflecting on things, right? And today we want to focus on reviews, as you said. And the important thing about reviews is, or in Scrum, is that you do inspection and adaptation, right? Mm-hmm. And the review is a very valuable thing or event to reflect on the things you've created, on the value you've created, and to get feedback and also work that feedback in. And that's one important part, often forgot by many teams. That you have to really create. It's a working event. It's a working meeting, and they often forget to work in the feedback and do some concrete action items out of the feedback.
Right.
So that's one thing, which is very important. What do you think? What is another important aspect of the review meeting, and what is maybe something which often went wrong?
Yeah. No, I like your approach of comparing it to the retrospective, because usually sometimes this blends in together. Retrospective, just in short, is internal process improvement and social improvement. And a review is user feedback, as you already mentioned. So a review for me is a review if it's not only internal. You have to have a stakeholder present, at least one, if possible, multiple stakeholders. Now, this is also where things sometimes turn sour, and that is because usually or sometimes teams don't want that feedback from the outside world. They want to work inside on their own little projects and product developments. And in the end, they don't really want to hear from the user immediately. And then it's natural. Nobody wants to be critiqued. So it's really, really important, I think, to keep that also for you as Scrum Masters, as Agile coaches out there. Keep that review space in a positive feedback space, and you will see that your teams will like that feedback way more and appreciate it and work it in.
So that's a really good point you're mentioning. Yeah, so getting feedback from outside, right? And so this means also working with our users, our customers, and to do that, it's important what you are going to review and how you collect feedback. So it should be a dialogue, right? Because often it's like a roadshow. So people showing their work to the user, and the user just says, "Yeah, cool, nice." And the question is also how you ask the question. So that's the point, right? So asking questions, asking for feedback, and gaining that feedback, and also what you are showing to the user. So, for example, if you show something which is half finished, or it only runs on your local machine, then that's maybe not the best idea, right? Because it can change, and the thing is also that you should create value. With every sprint, you should create value. And at the end of the sprint, there should be something tangible for the user. And that's what you want to discuss in the review meeting. And the feedback you want to work into the next planning.
That's actually closing the loop, right? And this is why I think the review is hugely important also to coin the mindset of the teams you're working with. Because in the end, if you're just working on tickets and you have maybe a sprint goal, but you're not really sticking to it, then it shows in the review. And this is why teams often push a review and say, well, let's do it next time and then next time, because we need to rework and refactor. Yeah, that's in a way it's gold plating and avoiding user feedback. As you already mentioned, another point to raise is setting the right expectations also on the user side. What is shown is usually something rudimentary, something not polished, not UX polished. And so sometimes you get that disappointed look on users' faces as well. So you need to set that expectation on both ends. Yeah, feedback is to be seen positive within the team, and on the other hand, what you see today is not the finished end product. It is a work in progress, according also to your feedback.
Yeah, that's such an important point you're mentioning. So it's better to show something to the user, even if it's not really finished and gold plated. Yeah, but finished in the term of it's usable, it delivers value, functionality. It doesn't have to be the final state of the user interface, for example, right? So you want to gain knowledge and insights as soon as possible, right? True. And another thing which often happens in the feature factory is that people or product owners forget that that the main job is to create value. Yeah? So they should maximize the value, and they should gain feedback early. Yeah? So on that value, and they should measure that value. And one measurement to get feedback and to get insights if the value is there or not is the review meeting. It's a very essential part. So we estimate things. We estimate things, and
hopefully we estimate.
We estimate on the one hand the output we want to create in terms of story points, but we also estimate the value with value points, for example. And the product owner should measure that. On the one hand, with concrete measurements like KPIs and user numbers and stuff like that, and on the other hand, with tangible feedback.
Yeah. Let's break it down. For me, also, I think for all Agile coaches and Scrum Masters out there, it's, I think, important to make a little rundown of what the review meeting should reflect. Now, bare minimum, a review meeting is to gain that user feedback, which is important to remember also. This is not the Scrum Masters meeting. This is the product owners meeting. Yeah? So the invitations, the setting the expectations straight, I think should come from the product owner. The Scrum Master or the Agile coach in question is there to moderate if feedback goes way above and beyond or way too critical, if the level of discussion goes way too deep in the review for the time frame given. But I think a good team dynamic and a PO that is really pulling their weight doesn't only talk to the users in the review meeting. This is the bare minimum. I think in a 2-week sprint time, you should be able to have constant feedback loops, also to set those expectations for the sprint review meeting beforehand. So I don't know, how's it in your teams, or was it in your teams?
Yeah, so consistency is key.
Right, yeah.
And one way to achieve that, so I'm totally with you when we say the responsibility is at the product owner.
Right.
The accountability maybe is by the Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master should make sure that the product owner is organizing the review meeting. And the constant tact or the constant frequency for the meeting is best achieved when the product owner and the team really work on creating relationship with the users and having key users. Right. So it's really hard to schedule meetings, regular meetings, when you have I don't know, hundreds or thousands of users, right? So it's really key to get key users, and to get the commitment of the key users that they want to participate, that they want to help you improve your product. That would be a major pattern, an upgrade. Yeah.
Now, we have collected some questions beforehand. I do have two. The first one is, David, maybe give us an insight. What about a sprint review where you have nothing to show? Is that positive? Do you want to cancel it? What can you do as a team?
I mean, there is always the chance that you gain something new, some new insights, right? So if you can't really show anything, it's also good to just do the review, and you have then two options. Yeah, the one option is you talk with the key user, with the stakeholders, what your next plan is, what you want to do, and also you try to get feedback on the existing parts. That's the one idea, or the other idea is that you show them the things you're working on with the premises and the attention that this is not finished. This is in progress work, right? So to gain feedback even earlier, but as I said before, the goal should be to present really working things which are live and productive.
I agree, and I think it's the Scrum Master's work to make sure that the mindset of the team is not in a state of being frightened and fear, but rather the sprint review can be a hugely motivating aspect of work. And so if you remove that fear factor, a sprint review becomes natural, even if you have nothing to show, nothing new to show, let's say, because in the end, feedback never ends, right? And even though you might not have something new to showcase, it's always important to gain that feedback, and also to end that sprint in a good way.
One important part also to mention here is users often need time, time to understand what you've created, and so often you get feedback from 2 or 3 sprints ago, right? So never cancel a review meeting, because you might gain some insights from the features you have already created.
Exactly.
Because the users are using the software in the best case. That would be the goal. And then they can give you feedback on the existing parts. And I so often had the situation that we said, oh no, the review meeting will be very short. We don't have something to show. And in the end, it was one of the most valuable meetings, because then there was space to really reflect on the existing things and to improve the existing things.
Exactly, I totally agree. Now, a second question, a bit of a tricky one, so let's tackle it. What about if you have, let's say, management present as users or as interested stakeholders, and they shoehorn in their ideas about how to go about in the next steps in the product development phases very, very directly. So in short, they don't give you feedback, but rather with a thinly put veil over it, they tell you what to do.
Okay, so if your manager tells you what to do, then first of all, I don't think that's really bad. So it's good that your leader has a vision and wants to develop the product.
Right.
So when the situation would be turned around, and the manager would not be interested in the product, that would be a real problem,
that would be
right?
Yeah.
So now the next question is, on what premises and on what hypothesis and what evidence does this strategy from the manager come from? So if it's just because I feel for that, and I think you should do that, then that's not enough. So the next step would be to evaluate the things the manager wants to do, and evaluate if it really creates value, and then prioritize it. So if you have good data, a good foundation to argue if that this is not smart, then I think your manager will understand. And so you can key in the requests the manager have in terms of experiments, in terms of tests, right? And to gain insights. But if there are really good arguments already there, then why should you do it?
Now, I agree. In my experience, it's also, I think, a good method for the Scrum Master, for the Agile coach in this situation, if especially if there's some tension then between the manager and the PO, to take that outside of the review and gain and get that manager in question and the product owner together, and maybe prioritize, as you say, together, not within the review meeting, because sometimes this can really escalate into a conflict of interest. I supersede you in the hierarchy, and on the other hand, I supersede when it comes to the decisions on the product as the product owner. So all in all, I think totally agreed. But take that into consideration. Now,
so it's one last sentence. So it's a question about value and about prioritization. Maybe that's a topic for the next time.
Oh yeah.
To talk about what is the value of the product, what kind of value is there. So maybe there are different kind of values.
True.
And spoiler, there are. And how to prioritize.
Exactly.
Would be a nice
that would be a nice one. If you like it, please let us know. Now, I want to put one disclaimer in the end from my end, and that is, please make sure the PO in question, if you're listening, an agile coach, make sure that the team is not, as you already said, a show reel, is not only putting on a demo. A demo is nice and all. Demo is definitely better than a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, don't get me wrong. Or just showcase the Jira workflow. This is what we have done. That's really not how we want to bring a sprint review alive. But if you can bring the users in to actively contribute, what can you show them that they already can use in the sprint review or even before the review? That's again on the product owner, I think, to schedule that accordingly, so that they are already either armed with feedback beforehand when they get in. So what I liked about this feature was, what I didn't understand is. And on the other hand, if you showcase them and lead them through a process within the review, you and your team can already see where some issues may lie. So the value gained of a sprint review is hugely upscaled when you don't have a just presentation and demo. So that's just a disclaimer from me.
Yeah, good point.
Right on. Now, we have discussed retrospectives last time. Now we have discussed review this time around. We are almost through the Scrum meetings, and we will continue this trend in the future, of course. But as you already mentioned, we might talk about value. In the meantime, we are not strictly bound to any schedule. Now, David, is there any take-home message you want to put out there for our dear listeners when it comes to reviews?
So the demo point was very good. So I think there are multiple contact points where you should collect feedback, right? And one major improvement a Scrum team or an Agile team can have or can produce is getting feedback early in the process. So for example, you can do as a product owner, you can create mock-ups, you can create wireframes, you can create pen and paper prototypes and gain feedback very early. But maybe that's not something for the review. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, depending on in what state you are right now in your product development phase. For example. So be aware that you should collect more than every 2 weeks feedback from the user. That was my last 2 cents.
Perfect. Now, we have talked about getting to know your users regularly. We have talked about the sprint review being the meeting of a product owner and the agile coach being the supporter in that frame. We have talked about what to do in terms of prioritization. We have talked about now the review not being a demo and getting that feedback as early as possible. If you do have any questions, further comments, or feedback, please do so. Please write to us in the comment section or in private messages. We are always happy to hear from you. Thank you so much for the support. I think it's already taken off quite a bit, our little podcast here. And I thank you all, and we thank you all, of course, for listening as per usual. Stay agile, and until the next time, see you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.